Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and tonight's guest is IFBB Pro, former teen national champion, good friend, Gerald Williams. Welcome back to the show.
Hey Dave, how you doing?
Actually, I don't know if you've ever been on Live With. Where are you? I think you were on the radio show the last time we had you on.
First time I've done the TV show, man. This feels like I'm elevating status in the world. This is great.
You look very snazzy. You look like you're ready to go hit the Miami beach clubs over there.
Yeah, definitely not ready to tackle like the afternoon meetings. That's kind of where we're at.
Where are you working these days?
So I'm an adjunct psych professor, or I guess it's adjunct meaning that I'm not tenure track, but psych professor at Berkeley City College.
Nice.
So I'm teaching psychology over there, a few classes, and doing some consulting and evaluation with some of their programs. I do applied research for Oakland Unified Schools, so I'm doing program evaluation and scale development and data analysis and all the other stuff. And then I've got a real estate business, actually. I've been kind of running that on the side too. And then a couple other community organizations that I sit on the boards of. So that's what I'm doing.
No, you're busy. That's good. Busy is good, especially when you're young.
Yeah. Well, some of the best advice, there was a guy named Dave, and I think I was maybe like 21 years old. He said something like, Gerald, you need to make sure you have 5 streams of income just in case something happens. And it sat with me. And so now I'm old enough to have 5 streams of income. And so
and you have 5 good streams of income. That's the funny thing. Now, you won the Teen Nationals back in '05 and the overall there. And that was, you were kind of on the fast track to success in bodybuilding. And then you took a little step back. You went to school, which was smart, and you took some time off. You made the comeback last year at the USA Championships. You finished second behind Cody Montgomery in that USA, and then you went on and won the North American in the heavyweight class, and you got your pro card, and all was pretty good. And then we hadn't heard from you. You hit that Ferrigno Legacy Classic at the end of the year, placed top 10, I believe. And this year you did the Golden State. And then you decided to do this Dubai Sharu Classic, and you called me up, and I got to tell the story. And you said, "Dave, I want to come on your TV show." And I said, "Well, I got 1 million people. I'm doing it." I didn't even know what you were doing. You're like, "I'm competing this week," and I said, "All right, you know what? If you place top 5, I'm going to get you on for an interview." And sure enough, as hell, you're the first person who texted me. You probably had just stepped off stage, and you said, "Dave, I placed top 5. I'm 5th. When are we doing the interview?" And here we are.
Yeah, it definitely, the year was interesting. I also got married earlier this year too,
oh, congratulations.
So that was thanks. Definitely a lot going on from getting my pro card last year to really getting stuff going with that, and then I was really just burnt out. Like literally, like the amount of effort that it takes to compete, I had forgotten because I hadn't done it in 7 years.
Right.
And so like physically, mentally, spiritually, everything, I was just kind of like fried. And so I took a step back from training and everything, and really kind of focused on a project I was working on for a few months, and then started training again and realized I'm not Kevin Levrone. I can't take 4 months out of the gym and eat crap and turn out to be okay. So the Golden State was definitely a rude awakening as my pro debut was 9th. I was like, oh. And it was a good lineup, Compton, Lockett, Ronaldo Gary, a few other guys. I was like, okay, this is real. And so we decided, cool, we're going to do the Ferrigno, and another tough lineup, Compton, Diasha, a couple other guys, Lockett, another guy from Olympia. So, I mean, that was a tough lineup. And then I was like, all right, you know what? Chris had actually hit me up. He was like, you should do the Sharu Classic in Dubai. And I'm like, Dubai? And he's like, yeah, it's the 26th. And I'm thinking of it like, that's like the week after Thanksgiving. Like, how am I going to tell my wife I'm going all the way across the world 4 months into being married that I'm not going to be here? But what ended up happening is I ended up taking her with me, which was good. And so we spent a little extra time on the front side there, which is the last thing you really want to do, but probably one of the best things I could have done just to let my body adjust from there. But yeah, went out there, did a lot of time with the fans and at the expo, and just really, I think ultimately brought the best package I brought on the stage to date. So it was really, really great to have had that time and to really put that work in.
I got to tell you, when you sent me those pictures, I was blown away. I'm your biggest critic, mostly your biggest advocator when you put it all together. That was the best look I've ever seen you bring to a stage, hands down. Period. Glutes were crazy striated. Your back was terrific. Your waistline was tiny. Your conditioning was superb. You might have gotten outsized by a few of these guys, but by and far, the total look you brought to the stage, I thought was stupendous. And I think if you could progress from where you are now, I think that you have a good future at doing really well, because not many guys have your structure, and obviously that's what the judges saw back in '05 when you won the T Nationals. And I think you brought that structure back with more muscle, with great conditioning.
Yeah. I mean, the feedback that I've overwhelmingly got is be bigger. That's the feedback, and I'm much more interested in the critical than the praises, and so definitely be bigger. We made a couple mistakes at the Ferrigno, and it was interesting. I was listening to Heavy Muscle Radio and heard Chris Aceto, and I was like, I mean, Chris is another guy who will not blow smoke up your ass. He'll tell you exactly how it is, the way it is. You guys are the same way, and so hearing that too, like a couple weeks out, really. I talked to Matt Berzicott, who is my coach, and we're like, we just got to make you suffer as much as we can to get you to this place. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so, yeah, hearing that, no one, the guys that really tell it how it is, I really respect that, because you guys are no nonsense. You'll say you look good or you look like crap, and then you manage it from there. And so my goal was to have someone say, you don't look like crap, and to continue to move there. But yeah, we know what we have to do is to be bigger. I think that has been overwhelmingly the feedback from this entire year is great structure. We know how to get in shape now. It's just there's got to be more tissue, but maintaining the lines while growing that tissue.
Well, when you have a great structure, usually when the muscle goes on that structure, it always seems to be in the right places. I don't know why, but when you have good genetics, it really helps a lot in bodybuilding. What did you actually weigh on the stage?
Dave, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I don't know what I weighed on stage. I don't know. I haven't weighed myself since October.
Right. Well, how do you give updates to Matt when you send him into it?
We take pictures. Oh. We do pictures every week.
He doesn't want to know how much you weigh?
No, we stopped asking that question. We did it up until the Ferrigno. I think I was 233.
Right.
And then we said, really, we know what we need to do. We know we're not going to grow you to be this astronomical person in 4 weeks. Just want to get you in shape. Right. And so we focused on the variables that were really important were the visuals at that point. And like even after the show, I haven't weighed myself. I really just tried to just manage stuff and, stay in shape for this guest posing another week or so, and then just keep going from there. So the scale hasn't necessarily been in the regimen. It will soon, but I have no idea. If I had to guess, maybe 234, maybe.
Right. Where do you go from here now? I mean, what's next? Like, do you wait a whole year again to compete, or do you jump right in the early part of the year of 2017? What's the game plan?
Yeah, so the game plan now is, like I said, I'm doing a guest posing at the Bayfit Expo. Jay Cutler's going to be there, and Guy Cristiano, so I'm going to stay in shape for that. And then I'm going to do the Cal Pro in May. And so we tend to find that I do really well when I have something in front of me, when I've got to really continue to push and be linear on this track. And so I think that gives me really 6 months to try and bring it in. I mean, I think I might have sent you the pictures, the comparison from the Golden State like progress pictures to the other one, and it was like night and day. And so I think given the way that we're working with my body and the way we're learning it, I think that amount of time is going to be really, really good. Just enough time to keep everything tight, to try and put on some muscle and see what the next steps are. I think what ends up happening is sometimes guys are like, oh, I'm going to wait super long, and then life happens and then things get loose, and that's not really how I want to play it this go round.
Yeah, obviously having a real job and profession, and now you're married and everything like that, has that hampered your training or your ability to focus on making improvements?
No, I mean, I definitely think that I always kind of wonder, like, what would life be like if all I had to do was eat, sleep, and train? Then I also feel like I'd probably get bored somewhere along the way too with that. But no, I think it's been good. It's challenging. I've got to be really, really tight with time management. I get up early, everything is structured. There's not much free time or any time to be able to do anything like that. And so I'm really, really, really just regimented with everything. And yeah, it's tough. I always wonder what if, but we're finding a way to make it work. Time management has really, really been the key. And making sure that my wife is flexible. I'm trying to include her more into the things that I'm doing. Like, hey, let's go to the gym and take this video stuff now. Or, hey, get up and come do cardio with me. Or trying to incorporate her so it doesn't turn into this separatist type of thing along the way. And the people in my office are super excited. It's crazy. Like, I would have never thought, it's like being an alien in an office, but everybody's like, they get behind it. Maybe because it's something that people aspire towards and they may not have the tools or the discipline to really jump into that level. But I do find people tend to try and make better choices, or they ask questions and then I'm able to give them information, and sometimes they roll with it, sometimes they don't. But overall, I think I'm in a supportive environment that really helps me continue to progress and push in several different ways, not just as a bodybuilder, but as a person.
You took off those 7 years, from competing, while you were getting all your degrees and everything like that. How tough is it to get back into the sport? I know you were still young, but how tough is it to get back into the sport after such a long time off? I mean, the cobwebs, the rustiness. I mean, how do you do it? I mean, how do you get back into that competing mindset when you're away from it so long? Like I look at myself now, I'm like, there's no way I could ever want to compete again. I just don't. I just there's no way I have any desire to ever go back to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that's why I had to take so much time off at the end of last year was because it was so much, it was so intense. The focus and the level of intensity the day after day, and it after 6 months of it, you're zapped. I think now, my stamina is up. I did it last year, cool. I've done it this year. We're 9 months deep in the game this year. I feel good still. We're going to take a couple weeks of vacation at the end of the year, my wife and I, and then, I'm back in the saddle the whole way. And so I think the hardest thing is building up the stamina from, the neurological side to really be able to take yourself to that place while training. The discipline, I think, is something that's always carried over. Like I was still working out, like I was playing hockey at UC Berkeley in grad school. I was, playing rec league hockey. I was still working out. I was doing rock climbing. I was doing active stuff. And I still eat, 5, 4, 6 meals a day kind of in the middle. So some of the things were lifestyle consistencies that I adopted at a young age. And I'm sure like even yourself, you just kind of carry through to where you are now. And so really it was the level of focus and the level of intensity. And now as a pro, it's really become the level of intentionality of engagement of other people. It's not just about looking good and training in the gym and having your meals. It's about how are you engaging people? Who are you showing up to be? How are you getting out into the world? What outlets are you pursuing? Like, though it becomes even a bigger entity, more so than just, looking like a good bodybuilder. And so I'm still continuing to grow in these ways and figure that out. But the comeback was really, it still was in me. I think it was one of those things, if I felt like I had walked away from it completely, it would have haunted me for the rest of my life. And I never completely felt ready to jump back in, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. There's never a right time to almost do anything. So, yeah.
Now, I gave Johnny that picture you sent me where it was, I think, 8 weeks out from the Golden State, where you showed me the Golden State was on the right, and on the left was how you looked, for this past show. And it's almost like a world of difference. It's crazy how much you improved. I mean, I sent them the pictures. I don't know if you got the back ones too. I mean, where your glutes are just ridiculous looking. But, I mean, you really turned it around. I mean, it just goes to show you when you really put your mind to do something, you can do it. And a lot of people just don't want to suffer. Do you find that suffering is difficult? Because I know you like to eat.
Oh man, my masochistic spirit apparently loves the suffering part. There's something about just feeling like you're a zombie and one foot in the grave that just really makes you feel alive, I guess. But yeah, the suffering portion, man. I like 13 weeks in between. I look at those pictures and I really look at the fact of one. I mean, there are a couple takeaways. One is time is important. I think I'm learning the amount of time it takes my body to make certain changes, which is why, having learned that lesson, I feel like I'm comfortable doing the Cal Pro. I think that 6 months, seeing what I could do in 3 months, if I double that time, I think that will be a good amount of space to see what can happen. And I think the second takeaway out of that was really learning how to dial it up even further, and realizing that there's a degree of suffering that becomes counterproductive as well. And I think to get ready for the Golden State, I think there was a degree of suffering that I was pushing counterproductive because I was so far behind that actually put me in a place where I was not even capable of achieving my best. And so there are degrees of suffering. There's suffering that's positive, and there's suffering that's not constructive.
Right. I always seem to have found the most brutal aspect of suffering, and I always subjected myself to it. But as you get older and you get wiser, you realize that there is a balance there. You don't want to go too far. I made that mistake along the way, and that's why it's good to have a coach to keep an eye on you, prevent you from doing silly, dumb stuff. And even the best of us need coaches. And I never really had a coach. I had some people when I first was starting out, so I made all the mistakes myself, and then I learned, and I applied all my mistakes that I made to other people and helped them prevent that from happening. So look, you really ended the year, I guess, on a bang. You should have probably done this show in San Marino this come weekend. I know it would have been tough to get back out there with all the traveling, and the job and everything like that. But you really nailed it on the head. I want to congratulate you on having a good year, and I think next year is going to be a breakout year for you. We're going to see some top placings, and people are going to start mentioning the name Gerald Williams a little bit more. And I wanted to say I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate it. You're one of the guys I've respected as a friend, as in the profession, and so yeah, I appreciate this moment so much because it's a culmination. I've known you for like 10 years now. I was trying to figure out how to get together, and I just watching you grow in where you're at now, and growing with you in this space, and myself growing. It's just I appreciate the opportunity, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the ability, the access, man. A lot of times people they get to places and like, oh, you can't find this person or they're not accessible. You've always been accessible. You've always been stand up. You've always told it how it is, and I really respect that. So thank you, Dave.
Well, you're welcome, and I like to think that the athletes are not always accessible either. You always make yourself accessible. You're ready to do press at any time. You never say no to me, and so in that sense, I think you'll be successful. A lot of people, it's funny, I come after these people. They complain they have no publicity, and then I ask them for interviews, and then they don't get back to me. So it's crazy. But look, if you don't put yourself out there and let people know who you are, that's going to hurt you in this sport, and that's really a take-home message here. Hey, best of luck with the family over the holidays, and we'll see you after New Year's, and best of luck to you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me on the show. Have a
All
good day.
right, and that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and we'll see you next time.